Okay, here we are at the last purpose section 6. Moving on out.
Moving on out, that's what it is.
Yeah, the first one is going to be taking your stand.
So many song references, but go ahead.
Yeah, moving on out, moving on up and out. So, as we move and, it's 2023 right now and things are becoming less and less favorable for us to spread the gospel because there's a chance of being canceled, all the time, in our lives. So we're going to be talking about how to take your stand. As the Israelites were leaving Egypt, they looked up and they saw the Egyptians marching behind them. And Moses said, "Don't be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord that he will bring you today. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." You know what? Sometimes he tells us to fight. Sometimes he tells us to watch. Sometimes he tells us to get involved. Sometimes he tells us different things. But the battle is not ours. The battle is his. We may need to put on that armor and get into the battle. But it's he's fighting for us.
And I want to mention too that the Egyptian army was probably the strongest one in the world at that time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. They were huge.
Yeah.
In the New Testament, in Ephesians 6, it says, "Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that," not if, the day of evil comes. When the day of evil comes, you will be able to stand your ground. And after you've done everything, to stand. The full armor of God needs to be worn every day as we stand against the spiritual forces of evil. What do you stand against? You put on the helmet of salvation. Remember, that's for your mind. That's, you wear the helmet to protect the brain and your mind, and the sword of the Spirit. And we can stand against the devil. We can stand against the evil forces that are coming. David knew that his power, his strength came only from God. He says, "You, God, are awesome in your sanctuary. The God of Israel gives us power and strength to his people. Praise be to God." He knew where his help and his strength came from. Obedience comes through strength. It says, "Observe, therefore, all the commands I am giving you today," Moses said, "so that you may have the strength to go in and take over the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. Be strong and be courageous, but be careful to obey everything that I've commanded you." Obedience, when you're obedient, you have the power and the strength and the purity and the integrity to move forward. And so we obey God, not man. It says that the one who is blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord promised to all who love him. And we're to stand firm to the end. In Matthew 24, he says, "Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." So you know what? We got to stand firm no matter what comes our way. We stand firm in him and based on the word, obedient to him.
Very good, very good. And here's some things to help out. Little things to help. It's called tactics to help you stand. That's the next section. So, if you'll permit me, I will tell you about the Columbo method. You think, what? Colossians 4, 5, and 6 say, "Conduct yourself with wisdom to outsiders, making the most of every opportunity," etc., etc., etc. In other words, Be wise. So, well, the first thing, just put a stone in their shoe. We tend to think that when we're evangelizing someone, that we have to do the whole 9 yards. We actually don't, and most likely we can't. We can just put a little stone in the shoe so that they'll remember what we talked about, and it'll bother them. It's kind of just one little small thing, but we need to be prepared to give an answer. 1 Peter 3:15 says, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. Do this with gentleness and respect. That's important. I had a conversation with someone in the gym last week or 2 weeks ago or so, and he said, I said, I was at the cafeteria and I had an argument with someone. They were sure that their religious views were right. And I probably knew who he was talking about. They were having an argument about it, but he says, do it with gentleness and respect. There's a sense of doing pre-evangelism. And you think Paul of Tarsus, one of the giants, would go and make disciples. Well, not all the time. Not all the time at all. In fact, Paul said, I planted the seed. I put the rock in the shoe. And then Apollos watered it. And then, but God has been making it grow. I mean, it's just like each had a little piece to do. And one of the very interesting places that happened was in Athens. Paul was talking to Gentiles. It's, I think, the only recorded instance of him actually addressing Gentiles alone. And so he was in Athens. He was waiting for one of his co-workers to show up. He was just waiting. So while he waited, he walked around the city. And they say in those days there were more idols and more gods of statues set up than there were citizens in Athens. Because they had to sacrifice every single one. And a number of years ago, before that, there had been a plague. And so the Athenians were sacrificing to these gods, and it just wouldn't work, and nothing happened. And finally, they sacrificed, and it worked, but they didn't know the name of the god, and so they created a statue to the unknown god. And it was kind of funny because they said, well, there were so many gods around, they just wanted to make one statue to the unknown one, just in case they left them with somebody out. So when Paul came, he had to really go from the ground up, and so it's a very sophisticated speech, which I won't go through right now, but he talked about you have the statue to the unknown God, and in fact, that's the God I'm talking about. You don't know him, but he is the God of all. And because in him we live and move and have our being. Paul was quoting from a Greek poet 300 years before that.
And they all knew this poet.
They knew the
they
poet.
knew these things.
Yeah.
And so this resonated with them.
Yeah.
Because they knew that.
Absolutely no surprise.
Yeah.
So, now let's talk about the Columbo method a little bit. And you'll permit us, he had a very interesting way of bringing it out. It was a TV series, 1971 to 2003, and he was a bumbling and seemingly incompetent detective. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it, but it was big when I was young. It's this particular thing is called the Columbo method, where he would basically he would ask dumb questions like he didn't even know, and then he would leave, and he just ask them, how's that work? What's that all about? And so he did that to make the most of every opportunity, which is in Ephesians 5:16. And he get a real clear view of what people thought was going on. And then then he would reverse the burden of proof. And this is actually what Jesus did too. And he would, they were saying, by whose authority do you say this? And then he said, well, I'll tell you if you'll tell me by whose authority John was baptizing. And they said, because they politically they couldn't do that. So he reversed the burden of proof. And that's actually what Columbo's second question always was. So how did you come to that conclusion? Why did you say that? What are your reasons for holding this view? I'm curious. And this helps the other person try to think through why they said what they said. And the third thing is to be able to ask leading questions. And that's in that's from Matthew 22:42 to 45. Jesus did the same thing to others. He would ask leading questions. You say, well, how could you say that it's God's son? Because David said, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand. Who's he talking about there? And they were befuddled by that. And so the next is to ask the person leading questions. Have you considered, or can you help me understand this? And what is the point of that? And so, but you might consider looking at it a different way. It's sort of an easy way to bring somebody's thinking around.
Yeah. Especially somebody who's skeptical, or somebody who thinks that they have their own truth.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is not to be confrontational, but just to seek them out and help put that stone in their shoe.
Draw the person out.
Draw their thoughts out, because so many people are just quoting what they've heard other people quote, and it's a defense mechanism that they don't have to really know what they believe, because they've just cut you off when they say, hey, you have your truth and I have mine. So what they're doing is they're cutting you off and saying, that's for you, that's not for me. And so then we can delve into that. So we can ask them questions. What is your truth then?
Yeah. Tell me, how do you come to that conclusion?
Right, yeah.
And what do you think about that?
Yeah, and just keep on. And so what happens is that in our mind, when we talk to people, a lot of times we're thinking about our next thought. This makes you have to focus on what these people are actually saying, not you. You have to think about what they're saying, so you can, delve deeper into them. So this is a really good way to do it.
It is. It's a real gentle tactic about and it worked quite well for him.
Yeah.
So we have vision, but it's very easy for the vision to get stifled. And I'm sure you've perhaps had visions in the past and they've been stifled. I know we all have. It's a very simple process. And we're going to say a little bit about what the process is right here. Journey to a stifling a vision. And it starts out when you're confronted with something that is just kind of overwhelming. And so, it's the old phrase, you got this, and you think, I don't have this.
No.
Do not have this. So you're confused, and then you get confounded. Like, I don't see how to fix this.
I don't know what to do.
I really don't know how to fix this. So then your belief, this is the important part, really. Your belief is then, there's no way to fix it. You
way
you
out.
won't be able to deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, here's the turning point: the choice. So you choose not to take action.
Yeah.
I can't do anything
because you're overwhelmed.
What can I do?
Yeah.
I can't do anything about this. This is too big. It's overwhelming. So what happens then is disengagement. You then say, I can't fix that. I can't deal with it. I'm out of here. The problem, of course, doesn't go away, but what happens is the vision is stifled.
Yeah. So, thinking that stifles your purpose. There's habits of thinking, right?
Yes, there are.
Right. So, what are these? What are these? These are they're obstacles and barriers that restrict you from fulfilling your purpose, and there a lot of times they're defense mechanism. So if you are stifling your purpose yourself, you don't realize it's yourself. But then if you're stifling your thinking by your limiting beliefs, you don't have to do them.
Yeah.
You don't have to. There's your out.
It lets you off the hook.
It lets you off the hook.
Yeah.
A lot of times we overthink. We are over analyzing. How can I do this? How can I put a rock in somebody's shoe? How can I build the wall like Nehemiah? How can I do these things? I can't do it. I don't know what steps to take. And so we are actually overthinking, over analyzing. It's another way out. Because it's kind of like a perfectionist, a latent perfectionist that just never actually does anything because a lot of times because they overthink, they overanalyze, and so they don't do anything. And this is a habit of thought. These are habits.
Habitual.
These are habitual.
And automatic.
Yes. Yeah. And so there's ways to overcome it, and we talk about the different ways on the bottom sheet up there. And then there's ways to journey to a position.
We can journey the other direction. And here's the same steps we talked about before, but with a different outcome.
Right.
So you're confronted, and I don't have this. Too big.
What? Oh, that's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm talking about.
I thought, what?
I'm not talking about this. I got this.
Okay.
This is not too big.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you're confounded. I don't know how to fix this. Just can't. But then belief happens. This and the next step are the crucial parts. You believe that it can be fixed. It's possible. It doesn't even have to be probable. It just has to be possible. There may be a way to fix this. There may be a way to go forward. If God is for us, who can be against us?
Right. There's nothing impossible with God.
Yeah.
His arm is not too short.
His arm is not too short.
Right.
And all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose.
Right.
So things may be able to work in some way. So then the next crucial step is making a choice. In other words, not fixing everything, but just doing something. Taking some kind of action. So,
I like this line here. Motivation is a byproduct of your conscious decision to act.
Yeah.
Choose to act, and the motivation to act comes.
Yeah.
You must make the choice to take the first step.
The choice.
That's the way out.
Yeah.
That's the way out. In the end, Indiana Jones movie, don't know which one, but he was going over this abyss.
The bridge thing, right?
Yes, and
But you couldn't see it. There wasn't. It was invisible.
It was invisible.
But he had to take a step into this cavern.
He had to take that first step.
And he was able to do it.
And he was able to do it.
That's right.
He was able to do it.
Yep.
And he was able to do it. And so you just got to make that decision to make that first step.
That's right. That's right. And then what happens is engagement. What that means is you're involved. You're
No, I just kidding. I'm sorry.
That's
It's like
great. but yeah, what happens is you are then involved in all things. We are more than conquerors through Him. In other words, you're taking action. That action results that causes results in some effect, and you have another effect, and then you snowball this and you fix that, and pretty soon everything's starting to work. But you're involved, and so the result is the action you take.
Yeah.
The Marines call this locus of control. When you take an overwhelming situation, which they are confronted with continually, that you have some control. That's your location of control.
Yes. And it's very important to have that. And inserted, notice that it was in the first two steps were the same there. You're confronted, you're confounded, but it's that belief.
And the choice.
And the choice come in and just radically turn the situation around.
That's right.
Radically turn. And so that's what we have to be able to do, to insert that belief that may it be a scripture, may it be promises you're relied on, whatever it is, that your locus of control is with the Lord. He is your locus. He is your standard bearer. And so purpose grit. This is cool. This is persevere to grow. Purpose and hope. We're going to talk about. We're going to use the Matthew Barnett from the Dream Center in LA. And that's where it is, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, so interest in creativity create passion. But so does a purpose. Purpose allows us to sustain our passion over long periods of time. Passions do have a lifespan. So this hope causes us to persevere. So step one starts with what drives you. Pastor Barnett had a dream to revamp an abandoned hospital in Los Angeles. He was 16 years old. So, he's a young kid at that point. At 20 years old, he started pastoring a inner city church. He started with 39 members. And now 8,000 attend every week. But then he developed a skill to achieve this goal of making this dream center out of the abandoned hospital. He cried every night for 2 years, and God was molding a vision. And so he started serving the people of that community. And so step 3 was grow into, he was doing it for other people. He was growing. This was a very needy group area of town. And so, there's, I don't know how many ministries 200 ministries, different ministries. So he brings in all of these other ministries to help him expand and grow his ministry. So, each month, 50,000 people access the 40 drug-free, free services of the Dream Center. Includes housing, recovery, rescue programs for human trafficking, and much, much, much more. I mean, this is an incredible dream, an incredible thing that he is currently doing, and there's been dream centers popping up all over the United States. But so those are some steps to achieving your dream.
Excellent.
Now
we're talking about moving away from complacency, which we fall into because we naturally. The natural thing is to be complacent. Yeah. All of us.
Right.
And so we're constantly falling into that, and we need to do things like raise our standard, compete hard, and finish up. And so we have to raise our standard. Paul said to Timothy, fight the good fight
of faith. Not, I mean, you all, this is fighting. You know, things don't, you know, people think that, okay, if I just stand on the word, it's just gonna, you know, this is a fight. This is a battle that we're in.
Yeah.
We gotta be willing to fight the good fight of faith.
Then compete to win.
Yeah.
Paul said, run in such a way as to get the prize. We compete to get a crown that will last forever. I do not run like someone running aimlessly. No, I discipline my body and make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself might not be disqualified.
Mm-hmm.
He's making a reference to the Olympic Games,
mm-hmm.
which were in Greece at the time, because he's writing to the Corinthians who are in Greece.
Right.
And so they would say, oh, yeah, the Olympic runners, they do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And spiritually, we should do the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then to finish the race, to fulfill what your vision is.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last letter Paul wrote, he's talking to Timothy about, it's a retrospective in this section. He's saying, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now, there is a store for me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day, and not only me, but all who have longed for his appearing.
But to all. That's us, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's us. All who have longed for his appearing. Paul said in Acts 20, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish a race and complete the task that the Lord Jesus has given me. The task of testifying to the good news of God's grace. That's all of our tasks.
Absolutely. So finally, be spreadable and choose to purposely reach others. Purposely reach others.
Purposely reach others. So our purpose on us is far larger, and hopefully that through this, your focus, your eyes, the eyes of your heart have been opened, so you see your life as having a greater purpose than you did before you started this thing. So that you see that God has a purpose in you that's greater than you thought of before. Hopefully there's a big old bunch of gravel in your shoe now.
Ow.
And so we're to plant seeds. We're not soil testers. We're not just testing the soil, but we're plant growers. We're fruit growers. We're spreading fruit. On all sorts, but you know, he said to spread the seed. Some of it's gonna fall on different kinds of grounds.
Yes.
But you're still supposed to spread the seeds.
I mean, you know, the sower's throwing it everywhere.
He's throwing it everywhere.
He doesn't care. He's just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, oh, there's the good soil. I'm going to put some. No. He throws it on the path. He throws it on the rocks. He throws it on the thorns. Everything gets seed.
Right. And some of it is going to take.
Yeah.
And other people are going to water it. And, you know, but that's still our responsibility. And so we're to purposely impact others. So hopefully you're getting this. And so, folks, you've got to realize that our ability to do this is going to become less and less and less. So we've got to do this more and more and more. And that's why we've talked about creativity, that God is a creative God. Mm-hmm. He has blessed us with creativity. So there's no certain way to do this. Mm-hmm. There's as many ways as there are people. There's no certain way. If somebody tells you you're doing it wrong, don't listen to them. Okay? Because, God's a creative God. We can do it different ways, and different people are going to have different outcomes. It doesn't matter. Hill of beans, we're trying to give you ideas, but God is a creative God, and seek Him and seek His creative resources to do this. Turn up the compassion. Okay, folks, you know what? In this day and age, it's not like it was when I was, all I had to do was go to church. I'd been to church all my life. I wasn't preaching gospel. I didn't know what a Bible was, but I was there at church a lot. And so, but people now are not being raised in church. And I hope you see that. They don't know our religionese. They don't know our jargon. They don't know what we're talking about. They don't know about the saving grace of Jesus. So our tactics have got to be different. We can't say it because the Bible said so. That means nothing.
Well, there is no sin against God. It's using too much carbon, or something.
Right.
It's a sin against the planet or others, not a sin against God.
Yeah, they don't get it,
Yeah.
folks. They don't get what, it's different. It's a different world. We've got a different culture. That's why we talk about conversational and cultural conversations. Got to get to know where they are and reach them that way. But people do understand compassion, His compassion. Remember in Mark, over and over and over, Mark says that Jesus moved with compassion, and it's out of the depths of His passion for lives of others, for their salvation. That's what it is. That's not compassion like we hear about today.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And so you give involvement. You give involvement into other people's lives. And we think, oh, we're overwhelmed. We've got enough to do in our lives. We can't really care about other people. Well, ask God to help you make some time. Many people when they come to know, I didn't know what questions to ask. I came from knowing nothing. And I had no clue what questions to ask. That's why we make disciples who make disciples. So you aspire to inspire. You're His hands and His feet to make other people come to the Lord. Be spreadable. Just be willing and be spreadable. That's why it says be Nutella.
Ah, there you go.
And so you just spread the word. Just spread Him wherever you go.
Last worksheet.
This is it.
And this is basically about your purpose. It's got a number of categories that you can access and think about what to put there. One is your vision. Mm-hmm. Write a little bit about your vision. Write a little bit about your commitment, how much you're committed to it, how much you prepared, what do you know in your preparations. These are just little categories here. They're not big essays. Mm-hmm. Then finding the opportunities. Where will you be able to find the opportunities for this? And then how much you cast this vision to other people so that they know what it is. Mm-hmm. Then as far as finding, refining and navigating, what obstacles do you see on the course, and how are you going to navigate around them? Mm-hmm. Then staying the course. Where your guts, where your grit. How can you stick in there? How can you be resilient? And how can you stay the course? Just write little things about all those things.
And I just want to mention too that we make coaches. You can coach this too. We have a coaching program. If you would like to become a coach in this, the entire intentional inspiration, the 3 sections of it, we will coach you to be a coach.
Sure.
Yeah, so contact us, and we would love to help you become and do what we're doing.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Thank you for sitting through it.
Okay, we're grateful.
Bye.
Bye-bye.